What we're going to talk about now, Ya Ikhwani, is from the matters of the unseen, that nobody knows the complete nature of it except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The jinn were created from a smokeless fire, and that fire remains a part of their nature, but we know from the hadith of the Prophet SalAllahu Alayhi Wasallam that they right now are not actual fire or something like that. Okay, they live amongst us, they have families, there are Muslim jinn, Buddhist jinn, Hindu jinn, there are good jinn, bad jinn. Not every jinn is a shaitan, and not every shaitan is a jinn, because we have shayateen from the humans and we have shayateen from the jinn, and we have believers from the jinn and we have disbelievers from the jinn. Most of them they tend to inhabit in faraway places, places like deserted places or places where it's not particularly clean. We know that the jinn are of different types. We know there are 3 types defined in the Sunnah: one that flies through the air, and one that takes the form of snakes and dogs, and one that resides in a particular place, much like the humans reside in a particular place. We know that they are from the unseen. We know that they see us from where we do not see them. We know that the jinn, not every jinni is evil. They do have certain characteristics though. What have we learnt about the characteristics of the jinn? Their nature. They have a very fiery character. Okay, they have abilities that we don't have, but we need to be careful to understand these are not what we would call supernatural abilities. These are just different to our abilities. What I'm getting at by this is that we should not attribute acts or characteristics of divinity, things that belong only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the jinn just because they can do some things that we can't do. It's very important that while we realize the jinn, yes, the jinn can fly, some of the jinn at least can fly through the sky, and they can do things quicker than us, and some of them have strength, and some of them, they're very, very different. But that doesn't mean that they should have any share in the divinity that belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where people have gone very badly wrong in the past. Because the jinn were able to do things that they were not from the normal things that human beings could do, people attributed divinity to them. People attributed to them the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and people eventually performed acts of worship towards them. Fear of the jinn. Don't fear them, but fear me if you are really believers. And if all of the world came together to harm you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished to save you, they would not be able to harm you. Do not give the jinn these characteristics. They are not worth this kind of honor and this kind of ta'zeem that we have sometimes, as Bani Adam, has given to these jinn. They're not souls that live forever. Yeah, they're not the dead, they are not all-seeing, they are not all-knowing, they don't know the future. All of these things that we can say, subhanAllah, the jinn are simply a creature and they die like the humans die. And whether they live for a long time or a short time, it doesn't matter. But we don't attribute divinity to them. And so it's very important that we understand this. They're also naturally afraid. They're naturally afraid of humans. Of the jinn being these huge creatures that can crush a human in a blink of an eye. And subhanAllah, naturally the jinn are afraid of you. But when you start to fear them, and if I give you any advice, if you take anything today, is honestly the least you fear the jinn, the more successful you will be bi'idhnillahi ta'ala in dealing with them. And the more you fear them, the more trouble they give you. But when you start to show them something, you start to show them that fear, and you start to show them that, that awe and that surprise of what they're doing, and oh my God, like there's a pan floating in midair, or the windows keep opening and closing and I feel scared to go in the room. Just go and sit in the room, inshallah they'll stop doing it. They only do it to get a reaction out of you. The jinn are not spirits of the dead. They're not all powerful. They're not fallen angels. That's a very important point to make. Iblis is not a fallen angel. The angels do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the angels have never disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, Iblis was, as Allah Azza wa Jalla said in Surah al-Kahf, he was from the jinn and he disobeyed the command of his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala.